LPG is one of them. It all depends upon, how long this shock will last and what is the duration of the shock. Your guess is as good as mine. I believe that you got such a unbalanced fight between the greatest military power in the world and a country which virtually doesn't have any air defense left, and therefore is a sitting duck, and therefore you got this guerrilla war tactics. I don't think this can continue for long, but that is my best guess.
Nirav, this was the constant conversation in our newsroom from this morning itself. Have Americans and that side of the war really underestimated the capabilities of Iran? It seemed like nobody knew that there were these cheaper, mass-produced Shahed drones available and what they could do, and all of those parts of it. And that is what has taken the world by surprise. Also, the ability to shut off the Strait of Hormuz so easily.
Yeah, you're right. I suspect that this was probably not pre-planned, in a sense that, what we know for sure, we know that Mr. Trump is conscious about the oil prices. You know that you got midterm elections coming. And therefore, to try and pull off this kind of risk before the midterm, actually beget some explanations. And I suspect that they probably preponed this entire exercise because obviously you had social unrest in December, and you therefore thought that, this could be very short-lived and ability to topple the regime, which seems to be their agenda. Obviously, it's easy to start a war, very difficult to put them off. But I don't think that they've been taken by surprise, right? So if push comes to shove, you can actually bomb Iran into Stone Age, right? You don't want civilian casualties at this point of time. And I'm 100% sure that there are some backroom channels which are keeping the conversations on. Please understand that for every day of delay, there's an economic cost that the world pays, but there's a big military cost that the Iranian regime is paying as well. Please, we have to appreciate the fact that you are able to take out the top leadership of Iran within 24 hours of striking with the war starting. That speaks volumes of their intelligence on the ground, no?
But then the new leadership is more of the old leadership. Anyway, I think this will continue. Nirav, question is, what should people do? What should people do in this market? Are you looking at anything that is worth buying or just sitting on the sidelines right now? Is this the time to shore up cash?
So I have no doubts about it. That this is a great time to buy. And please understand that different stocks are going to bottom at different points of time. So let's say even if you assume there's a 5% downside to the Nifty, it is quite likely that some of the stocks which have been bettered, they may not necessarily lead the next leg of downfall, right? So you keep an eye on that. It's a question of the money, but it is too late to change your portfolio, because the upside risk that you will have when this geopolitical risk reverses will be very, very significant, right? So you are too late to try and make any portfolio changes, right? So just how many guys do you know that were able to try and buy right at the bottom of the pandemic or near about that, and then try and chase that rally, right? So I'm not a great believer. You've seen, go back 10, 15, 20 years, you've seen a lot of this geopolitical risk, a lot of the stuff happening. Over a period of time, Indian earnings, the company earnings tend to compound, and so does the share price.
So Nirav, I get your point that, to rejig a portfolio at this juncture will be very difficult. But if someone has to look at fresh investments and deploy at this hour, where would those bets be?
Well, I look at the stocks that are sold off sharply for reasons that I believe. So what usually market tends to do is that they try and look at the next quarter earnings, and then they try and impute a P multiple to that. Just a case in point, let's say, for example, I saw in the morning, Eternal, for example, is a stock that we like, and it has been bettered out of shape, right? So I suspect if I do some rough calculations, then the Blinkit would be worth about some 1,20,000 vis-a-vis Dmart, which is still worth 2,40,000. To me, it's a sitting no-brainer, right? Because the earnings are not going to get impacted beyond a week, 2 weeks or something like that, right? So, EMS companies, right, that own 50-55% because of 6 times increase in memory prices, they tend to, capacities will come, prices will collapse, right? So how much value are you giving to next year earnings, right? If you look at the best way to value the company is that you try and look at the earnings and the terminal growth rate and then try and value the company. It doesn't matter finally what I say, right? Markets will do what they have to do. But the fact of the matter is that markets usually will overshoot on the way up, they'll undershoot on the way down. You need to use a bit of gut feeling as well in terms of, when do you want to jump in.
So one news piece that has, I think, can turn the mood, and I want to know your view, Nirav. This is on Bloomberg a short while ago, saying India is in talks with Iran to secure safe passage of more than 20 tankers through the Straits of Hormuz. We have, and in fact, we'll play that report for our viewers. We have the first ship. It's a Libyan-flagged bearing ship which has taken crude from Saudi and docked in Mumbai. That's the only one to cross the Strait of Hormuz. Will that possibility that Indian-bound ships can get safe passage in Strait of Hormuz change the game as far as Indian equity is concerned?
Oh, 110%. I know for sure that at least this is again what I read in Bloomberg, that this is what even China was trying to do, to try and ensure safe passage. And if India is able to pull it off, even for, let's say, even if you have to secure, for 2 or 3 weeks, I think that is more or less good enough. And it will be a big diplomatic coup because none of the guys have been able to do it so far.
Thank you so much, Nirav Sheth, for speaking with us this afternoon. I want to just take a quick check on what's happening with Brent. Of course, you have European markets which are looking weak because prices have stayed up and above. As far as crude is concerned, Brent is still in the $97, $98 a barrel range. Meanwhile, you have Europe looking weak thanks to this. We have a Ministry of External Affairs briefing on right now. We're giving you all the flashes on screen and we'll go into it in a bit. But another important story that we need to track for you this afternoon, the FSSAI has issued a major advisory for the dairy ecosystem, asking all milk producers and vendors outside cooperative networks to obtain mandatory registration before they continue operations. Shahed is joining us with more details. Shahed, is this why we saw a